Well, thank you for inviting me along. My name's Richard. I'm the commercial manager on the district energy scheme in Sheffield, working for Veolia. So just to talk a little bit about local waste management, and as somebody's already mentioned, a little bit about the energy recovery facility, which you'll probably know is down towards the bottom of the Parkway, near Parkway Roundabout, and also, very importantly, the district energy or district heating scheme, which provides heat around the centre of Sheffield to a lot of buildings, which the heat is generated from the waste that we gather around Sheffield. So in 2001, Veolia signed an agreement with the City Council to manage waste around the city. And as part of that, Veolia constructed, design, built, financed, and now operate the energy recovery facility, which is at the bottom of the Parkway, which was completed in about 2006. So Veolia collects waste from around the centre of Sheffield, from about over 220,000 properties, and runs the recycling facilities that you'll know hopefully around the town. In the energy recovery facility, we take all the waste, it goes into a bunker where it is burned, and it enters a boiler, and from that boiler it generates steam. That steam then generates electricity, about 21 megawatts of electricity, which is sold out onto the national grid. And it also generates heat, which is distributed around the centre of Sheffield to a number of customers. And it can generate typically around 42 megawatts in the winter, but we do have a capacity of up to 60 megawatts available. And I should just click on there just so you've got a bit of statistics, because I missed that little bit. So you've got there some of the data I've just been talking about. So we generate a lot of heat around from the waste that goes around Sheffield to a number of buildings. And the agreement we have in place with the City Council is until 2038. Now, just talking a little bit more about the district energy network, as we call it, but it is a district heating network, which fundamentally is a system of pipework which is beneath the ground that distributes hot water at about a flow temperature of about 110 degrees centigrade around the centre of Sheffield. And the majority of that network was developed, it started in the 70s, but the maximum development and growth occurred in the 1990s. So presently we have about 128 buildings connected to the network, which are the majority of commercial and public sector buildings. Some of those are residential, where they feed some of the tower blocks around the town. But Veolia only actually has one direct domestic customer, so we don't feed and have a lot of domestic customers directly connected to the network. It goes through a third-party management team who provides that. So the buildings, within the buildings that are connected, the hot water that we provide then provides heating or domestic hot water, typically for the residents or the commercial premises or the public buildings to use. And some of our biggest customers are, for example, the City Council, the University of Sheffield, Sheffield Hallam University, and various other properties around town. The network is a low energy, low carbon network, and mainly because of the way we generate energy from waste. So typically the carbon intensity of the district energy network per kilowatt hour of energy sold is about 0.008 kilograms per kilowatt hour. Whereas if you looked at a typical gas-fired boiler plant doing the same thing at a customer's location, that would be about 0.184 kilograms carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. So it is a good low carbon source of energy for the town. It is one of the largest, if not the largest, networks around the UK. So we've got a lot of pipe work there underground, which we take responsibility for and have good rates of reliability and resilience, which I'll show you on the next slide. If the energy recovery facility is off for a maintenance period, then we have some standby boiler plant around the town as well that we can put into use in order just to generate the heat required for the short period of time when the energy recovery facility is offline. We typically generate about 100,000 megawatt hours of heat per year from about 230,000, 235,000 tons of waste that we gather from around the city. So Just to give you some idea of the scale and the distribution of the network around the city, I'll just let you have a look at that picture for a minute. You can see in the top right hand corner the energy recovery facility, where we have some standby boiler plant that is at the end of the Parkway. And then you'll see the major part of the distribution is what we call Network 2, which runs into the city centre and right up towards Western Park campus and Western Bank Museum. Around the city centre, and then down to the right hand side we have a smaller network which we call Network 1, which runs past Park Hill Boiler House and out towards more residential areas of the town. And you can see we have good network customer availability, well in excess of 99% for most years. That varies slightly a little bit depending on what's happening on the network and what we need to do for repairs, maintenance and remedial works. So hopefully that gives you a good view of the distribution of heat around the district energy network in Sheffield. So in terms of the benefits of the district energy network, there are quite a few of them, and we've already talked about the low carbon emissions that the network facilitates. We've got lower operating and maintenance costs compared to a client's end user's typical gas-fired boiler plant or gas oil-fired boiler plant that may be on site. We've got good reliability and resilience, well in excess of 99%, which I just talked about a few minutes ago. We can now offer tariff flexibility, which enables us to offer time of day tariffs to try and encourage people to take heat out of what we call peak periods. And I'll touch on that later on the next slide when we talk about the amount of data that we can now gather across the network. Our prices and tariffs are not linked to the gas price, so the gas price market fluctuations are totally eliminated altogether. It's good circular economy story for local waste generating local heat and local electricity for local people around Sheffield. The amount of space that is required to install what we call a heat station in each building is significantly smaller than would be typical gas or gas oil fired boiler plant. So that then makes space available for other uses. Safety wise, it's very safe at a customer's premises because there are no sources of gas at the customer's premises, so you don't have all the gas safety regulations to comply with. And again, very importantly, is because there is no boiler plant at the customer's premises, there are no emissions or plumes at the point of use. So there's quite important and significant benefits for the district energy network when we connect premises to it. Interesting, what we started doing a couple of years ago was actually gathering more data from across the network. So if you can imagine that across each of the buildings we have a heat meter which measures the amount of heat consumed at the premises, we've now started gathering half-hourly data from each of those heat meters. So every day we've gathered yesterday's half-hourly data from across the network. So you can imagine how much data that is. From 120 customers, half-hourly data every day, and it gives you a picture there on the slide there of the information that we actually gather in terms of heat consumed, hot water flow rates, and the temperatures of the water going in and out of the building. So we use this data at the moment for billing purposes, fault analysis, and we actually bring it into our hydraulic modelling software in order for us to look at the network and how we can expand and make the best use of it and grow the network and make more heat available. And this has then led us into being able to doing seasonal time of day tariffs, where we can vary the price and take the cost of heat lower out of the peak periods to encourage people to use heat outside of peak periods, but also use things like thermal stores that will then use the heat the following day. Our next step really is to move towards what we'll call live data. So we'll be able to pick the data up directly from locations around the network, and be able to feed that into a dynamic live modelling, which then enable us to improve further optimization of the network, increase its performance, and make more network capacity available for, again, future connections and optimizing the performance of the network and increasing its capacity. So half-hourly data at the moment, now starting to look towards gather live data, which will then provide far more information and flexibility on the district heating network around Sheffield. And that's all from me. Thank you very much. Hope that was of interest to you all, and I'd be delighted to answer any questions when we get into the lounge.
Fantastic.